But how about then all the southern states who want to secede, where it seems as though the impetus there is actually to go back to a sort of Confederate image of government and to reinstate
I think we're missing the point that the United States government is a sinking ship. Mm-hmm. This is going to happen whether we like it or not. It's whether we're going to get prepared now and cast our lifeboat, or are we going to go down with the ship? There's no question in my mind the United States government is a sinking ship. It's over. The party's over. We're spending too much money. We're going to end up with a collapsing dollar and hyperinflation. And when hyperinflation hits, we're going to have no choice but to create our own country, create our own currency, backed by hopefully some precious metal, and taking care of ourselves and figuring out a way to survive. That's what it's going to boil down to. What happens in the South and what happens in other places is going to happen regardless.
Well,
We're going to have to take the lifeboat and take Vermont and become our own and sail away and set sail and say, listen, this is what we're going to do to preserve our way of life.
I guess people can see that there's some disagreement between the right side and the left side here. Robin and I are both sitting on the fence, and I'm a little bit more on the progressive side, I think, of the fence. There have been, in American history, we have 235 years of history, and there have been ups and downs, the Civil War and the Great Depression, mm-hmm. and I can't see that we're at the bottom here today. So I see the possibility of secession as something to talk about, but we also have to take into consideration that it may not happen, and that may be a long period of transition, as in Quebec. There have been votes and more votes, and during that period of time, I think it's important that we have health insurance. People need national health insurance, and we can have it here in Vermont, and that's the most important thing to me in this election in November, that we must have health insurance for every Vermonter.
But where's the money going to come from? If you're relying on the federal government, you're not going to get your health insurance. It's not
we have
going to
lots
happen.
of money. As Pete said, there's 50% of our health care money mm-hmm. is being squandered now. And
yeah, but the United States government takes $3 billion a day to run. And we're approaching, with all these stimulus packages that we're bailing out all the rich, basically, is we've bailed out the corporations. We're approaching hyperinflation. I mean, we're looking at California might need a bailout now just to keep them stable.
That's a risk. Hyperinflation is a risk.
But
people have
you
written
continue
about
to
that.
print all this money and spend all this money on the wars. This isn't going to happen, people. You have to. This is exactly what we're coming up against as an open secessionist for an independent Republic of Vermont. Is this understanding, the belief that the federal government is going to solve our problems? It's not. It's over. The party's over. We're done.
I'm not convinced about that.
Well, see, that's the issue. That's probably where most of the majority of people are right now. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I have something to add. As far as fence sitting, and I certainly understand that, I'll tell you what my big problem with being attached to the federal government, D.C., whatever you want to call it, and it's the war, and I think Robin is certainly sympathetic to this because she's been involved in this longer than I have. We have unfairly compared this war that the media has to Vietnam or World War II, and it's nothing like either of those wars. It's cowboys and Indians is what we're doing, okay? This is the same thing we did in the late 1800s with the Native Americans, okay? We've gone into another country, invaded their country, demonized their population, depopulated them, destroyed their food and water source with weapons of mass destruction, depleted uranium, one of the worst things we've ever spread in a country. They now have genetic damage that has been measured worse than Hiroshima after we dropped the bomb, stolen their resources, and made them second-class citizens in their own country. This is what we did to the Native Americans. This isn't a war between two big forces like in Vietnam. This isn't a war between two big forces like in World War II. We're committing genocide. I have a problem with that, having somebody giving me orders, telling me what to do. That's one of their main policies, and that half of our money is being spent on that. That's the reason I want out.
Well, I agree completely with you, Peter, about what we're doing over there in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it is genocide. But we have to remember that at the end of the 1800s, the American Empire won, and the Indians were defeated. And this is one of the reasons I'd like to see someone with Indian ancestry become governor of Vermont. And I support Dennis in his campaign. But taking into consideration that the American Empire went through the 1800s and grew ever bigger and more powerful, we have to recognize that that may be the outcome of what's happening today. And if that is going to be the outcome, I want to see every Vermont citizen have health insurance here in Vermont. And there's another issue that we have to think about. How about Vermont Yankee? Now, Vermont Yankee is coming up for license renewal in 2012. And that's going to be during a period when we're definitely going to be still part of the American Empire. And what are we going to do about that? Can we stop Vermont Yankee now, or is it going to continue for another 20 years? And even if Vermont should become independent, do we want a nuclear power plant there that may make all of southern Vermont and parts of New Hampshire and Massachusetts down to Springfield unlivable for the next 100,000 years? Isn't it important to get that nuclear power plant closed?
I don't think that Dennis or I disagree with, yes, there's a lot of things that we need to do on our way to independence. Certainly we would love for everybody to have health care, because certainly I think if Vermonters got together and said, okay, we'll put a vote to the people, how do you want to deal with this? If we do this, we'll give you 3 plans, and then you choose one, I'm sure they would choose something that would work. And I'm sure if Vermonters got to choose whether or not they want Vermont Yankee, they would say no. We agree that all these things need to be done along the way, and we're certainly fighting. Certainly I went to Vermont Yankee things, but you and I know that as long as we live in what Mussolini coined the term corporatism, it's not really, this isn't fascism, it's corporatism. Corporations control everything, okay? So I mean, here are the ads. They've been defeated as far as the majority of the Vermonters, and they're still spending hundreds of thousands of dollars running radio ads, making Vermont Yankee sound like it's a great thing. This is a company, much like the Pentagon, who has lied to us, and now they want us to endorse them, okay? They're poisoning us. You know, it's been shown what's going on with the water down there, and we always reward bad behavior when it comes to corporate, entities, and that's what we have to stop doing. But unfortunately, as we talked about the Supreme Court ruling, their money, they have more money than we do. Okay, so they're going to keep running these ads. They're going to keep fighting this till the last minute. And somebody like Doobie or Phil Scott, who says, you know what, we should really take a look at this before we make a rash decision, okay? Who are these guys? Are these guys on the side of the people, or are they on the side of this big corporation? The jury's in, as far as I'm concerned. They lied to us. They're putting poison in the ground. It's a dangerous thing. It's time to set them free. If I did this, I'd be in jail. If I did that, if I started pouring poison into the water supply and lying to the government about it, they'd put me in jail. But these guys get a free pass, and these are the things we're fighting. Certainly, we're going to keep fighting these things while we try to get people to realize that the only solution is to break away.
Yeah, I don't know. How much money is it going to take? Do you have a figure on that to clean it up after the closure?
Something like $1 billion or
$1 billion, $1 billion.
Oh, it's a lot of money, yeah.
And that's what the battle is over. Is that how much? Who's going to pay for that cleanup?
Well, not yet. The battle is over whether they want to even shut down. They want a relicense.
Well, we voted that in the state legislature, but according to Douglas, that doesn't mean anything.
That can be changed.
But
right.
if the people just decide to go an independent republic, we shut it down. In fact, we could just, if we want to kick all the Walmarts out of Vermont, you want to talk about progressivism,
as a
they're
practical
gone.
matter,
So,
that's not going to happen this year. But they're going to get relicensed and restart again this year. So
right. Well, I'm in favor of shutting Vermont Yankee down. Let's leave it at that. But at that point, I think, yeah.
But also, I think when you talk about the corporations, that's an overgeneralization. We agree that Vermont Yankee should be closed, but when you talk about corporations, they're pension funds that own corporations. They're average citizens, very poor people who have a little bit of stock in this corporation or that corporation, or they may own an index fund, which means that a widower or somebody retired can, with a small retirement pension, can own a piece of every corporation in the world in an index fund. So I would not generalize and say that all corporations are bad. I would limit it to the people who are managing these corporations and doing bad things. And I would limit it to the big money people who are abusing their economic power.
What do you do about it?
I don't think I said all corporations are bad. I just think they have too much power. They shouldn't have more power than the people that their business is near. Okay, the people should have control.